All right, everyone, we're going to let that music play in the background. You are with us on Wrestling Breakdown Podcast. You've got Ed and Vanessa. Welcome to the show, Vanessa.
What's up, man? How are you?
I'm awesome. We just watched a fantastic NXT event in Brooklyn.
Absolutely. I was just about to say the same thing. How could you be anything but great after what we just witnessed? From top to bottom, this card, as always, was amazing, but it just seems like every single time NXT Takeover step up their game and they just keep pushing the envelope, and it was absolutely incredible.
You know, we listened to an interview that Triple H did about NXT and kind of like the state of the NXT, so to speak, and you know, he kind of surprised me. He used the word developmental, and he used the word call-ups, and I was kind of surprised with that, and it made me wonder a little bit if, since they've had to replenish the NXT roster from all the people that moved up, just how good this pay-per-view would be, and it just seems like it doesn't matter who the people are that are on the card, that they just rise their game to meet the occasion.
Absolutely, I couldn't have said it better. I was thinking the same exact thing because, you know, he talked about in that conference call how half of the people on NXT Brooklyn last year, are on the main roster. You have people like Finn Balor, you have Sasha Banks, you have Charlotte, you have Becky, you know, the list, Kevin Owens, Enzo and Cass, the list goes on and on and on. And it's crazy because I had the same concerns. How is this NXT going to fare to previous ones? But, I mean, I wasn't disappointed. You know, I think tonight was a precursor into the future, and it just assures me and wrestling fans alike that the WWE is in good hands for the future, and I think it's just going to keep progressively getting better.
Well, there was a reason that we played the song that we did. That was Nakamura's new entrance music, and he had quite the entrance into the ring tonight, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he won the championship tonight. It's crazy. It was an amazing match, and the music was amazing, and it's funny because me and, you know, Trevor just had a conversation, like, I don't know, 2 or 3 days ago, talking about how, like, they need to bring in a violin to play Shinsuke Nakamura's new entrance music, and it happened. We guessed it. We put it out there on the map, and it was there, and the match was amazing. And to me, it just shows the stature that Nakamura is, because he's only been with the WWE for 4 months, and they already decided to put the championship on him, and I think that shows that the power that be, so to speak, has faith in Shinsuke Nakamura.
Well, I don't know how they could not have faith in him, because he is a worldwide sensation. I'm sure with that, you think about it, and the WWE network becomes even more powerful when you factor in the foreign audiences. I mean, people from Japan, were watching Nakamura tonight, and it just it says something for, it's had its bumps and it's had its little glitches and things, but the WWE network, what can you say?
Exactly. No, I agree 100%. And they say it every time, NXT Takeover happens. They say, oh, just so you know, the WWE Network is the only place that you can watch this unless you're in the building. They said those exact words tonight. And if I'm being completely honest, of course, I watch the WWE main products and I watch their main pay-per-views, but the reason why I'm content and okay with paying $9.99 a month is because of NXT. Like, I would literally pay just $10 a month pretty much for NXT alone, and I would be okay with that because that's how good it is. to quote Kurt Angle, it's that damn good.
There you go. Always love Kurt Angle quotes.
Absolutely. You can never go wrong with it.
Well, and your timing's perfect. We're right in the middle of the Olympics, and he's an Olympic champion, so what timing?
It just lined up, and I didn't even think about that. That's a good point.
Well, from top to bottom, you mentioned earlier, the card was fantastic. Let's just go down through the matches, and then we'll go back and talk about them. Opening match, I thought was insanely good. Austin Aries and No Way Jose. Aries got the win, and Aries attacked Jose again after the match, and that brought out Hideo Itami, and Itami come out and hit the GTS on Aries to set up a feud. Ember Moon and Billie Kay, a women's match that you might have thought might have been a weak link, but it certainly wasn't a weak link. Ember Moon, the newcomer, got the win. Bobby Roode versus CN Almas. The entrances tonight were almost as big as some of the matches. Bobby Roode's music intro was just well, I seen on my news feed, not even somebody I'm really close friends with, but just somebody that was watching, and said their 7-year-old doesn't even like wrestling but loved Bobby Roode's entrance music.
That is so funny. And yeah, that's the thing. I don't mean to cut you off, but how can you not love that music? I mean, it's literally so catchy, and I think right now is single-handedly the best entrance music that the WWE has, because it's like every time you hear it, you want to sing along with it, and then to add the rising platform, it was just perfect.
Yeah, that was some entrance as well. Roode got the win over Almas. Another outstanding. Roode was, if you were scoring on points, Roode was probably behind on the point scale when he hit his finisher, so he got the win. Tag team championship match. The final 3 matches were all championship matches. The Revival versus Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. How you say his last name?
Tommaso Ciampa.
Ciampa. My bad. I thought
It's okay.
that we were going to have new tag team champions.
Oh man, so many times during that match. Honestly, I'm just gonna throw it out there. I think, and people might like scratch their head and disagree with me, but hey, it's my opinion. I think that match was match of the night just because it was everywhere, near fall after near fall, finisher after finisher. It was just, you didn't know what was gonna happen, and then that point when Tommaso Ciampa and Gargano hit their finisher, and it was like 1, 2, and then you thought it was a 3, but it's like, oh no, the foot on the rope, and you're like, wait, what? It was just, it was all over the place. And again, that match alone to me shows that not only NXT, but the WWE in general is in good hands for the future. That was a determining factor for me.
Well, you think about it, all the tag teams that have been called up, and again, we don't really like that term, but Triple H used it, so I guess we can too, that have been moved. He did say that later. We said they like to use the term moved. Moved to the main roster. You think about it, you have the Ascension got moved up, you got American Alpha got moved up, Enzo and Cass got moved up. I know I'm forgetting some.
The Vaudevillains got moved up.
Yeah, the Vaudevillains. And then they come out with...
The Dragons got moved up. It's like the whole tag team division is gone pretty much.
And they come out and they pull off, like you said, what could have been match of the night in the tag team match. Before we even got the two... I call them the two co-main events because...
yeah, absolutely.
The women's championship match... Oh, by the way, the Revival did get the win. Asuka and Bayley... I think we've seen Bayley's goodbye to NXT tonight. Outstanding match. Asuka comes out with the win. The way it happened afterwards with Asuka raising Becky's arm or not Becky, but Bailey. Her going out hugging the rest of the 4 horsewomen. And was that her mother that she hugged after Charlotte?
Yeah, that was her mom. And then she also, I was really surprised to see Izzy in the audience tonight, too. And she hugged Izzy and Izzy's family as well. And if anybody knows Bailey and Izzy, they're pretty much synonymous with one another. I mean, that's what they're known for. And if you watch it back, I didn't even know this, but someone pointed it out. And when I watched it back, you can see Izzy mouthing good luck to Bailey. So I mean, it's obvious. Bailey's headed to the main roster, especially because when she was headed up to the ramp and then she pointed at the NXT logo and, the whole entire crowd was chanting, "Thank you, Bailey." And even Triple H sent out a tweet. It's a picture of him and Bailey, and it says, "The heart and soul of NXT," and it says, #Thank you, Bailey. So to me, that's confirmation that she's headed to the main roster. Whether it'll be Raw or SmackDown, I have no idea. I'm leaning towards SmackDown just because they're bringing the New Women's Championship there, and I think it would be awesome to give Bailey the championship, and maybe that's just a little of my bias speaking, but I think it would make the most sense. But then the fan in me, the selfish part of me, wants her on Raw because I want to see another match between her and Sasha Banks. So, I mean, we'll see where that goes.
Asuka got the win, and we moved to the final match of the night. Samoa Joe, Nakamura. Words just can't describe the match that they had.
Yeah, there's not enough words in the English dictionary and probably other language dictionaries to describe the match. Not only the match, but the atmosphere itself. The crowd was all over that match. When Nakamura hit his finisher and got the 1, 2, 3, the arena, the Barclays Center came unglued, rightfully so. And what I thought was interesting about this main event, and Lito alluded to it in the pre-show. Mario Noah, he said the same thing. He said, this is a match that's a dream match. I mean, because both of these guys, they came from the Indies, they came from New Japan. They have been all over the world, busting their asses off day in and day out, proving that they're the best. And we literally saw, and this is going to sound funny, but we literally saw 2 best in the world, wrestling it out tonight, and they gave us their all. And honestly, nights like this, NXT Takeovers reminds me why I love professional wrestling, and I know I say that a lot about NXT, but it really is true, because sometimes the stuff that they feed you on the main roster, it's a hit or miss. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's crap. But with NXT, you always get good stuff. You always get great stuff. It's never a disappointment.
That's an outstanding point, because the main roster shows go through their periods of good and crap, as you said. And while I'm not the dedicated NXT fan that you and Trevor are, every time I watch NXT, it's good from start to finish. I mean, every single time. It's not like every once in a while there's a bad one. There is never a bad NXT event. And
never. And I think that speaks to the roster itself and the fact that there's people out there that we haven't even yet to see, that are working their butts off to debut on NXT. There's a lot of people in the smaller part of NXT that haven't even been on TV, and I can only imagine what's next, because it's like I said, it just keeps getting better and better. And to a point that Trevor made to me earlier in a conversation, when you're watching the main roster, you often have a favorite. You often want a certain individual to win, and more often than not, if you don't get the ending that you want, you're disappointed, because you're like, oh crap, if so-and-so didn't go over, then what the hell are they doing then? It's kind of like, that made no sense whatsoever. And granted, for me, I do have my favorites in NXT. Obviously, for example, Bayley, a huge favorite of mine. I obviously was rooting for her to win tonight, but in my gut, I knew, like, okay, it's probably not going to happen. She's probably going to get that main roster move, you know. But, of course, I rooted for her, but with Asuka winning, it wasn't like I was mad. It wasn't like, you know, one of those moments when Roman Reigns won the Royal Rumble or when Del Rio won Money in the Bank, or, you know what I mean? It wasn't one of those moments where, like, why? Like, NXT doesn't do that. NXT makes you go like, okay, maybe it's not what I wanted, but I'm okay with it. Well, because every single man and woman in that roster is phenomenal, so no matter who wins, you're proud of them for doing what they did.
Just from the very first match, I mean, the crowd was cheering both wrestlers almost equally as loud. No Way Jose and Austin Aries were getting huge pops. I mean, it was like there was no face and no heel to the fans. I mean, obviously, officially, Aries was the heel in the match, but the crowd had them both over big time.
Yep, absolutely. And again, to me, it speaks to how good, you know, that the developmental system, I mean, I hate to call it that, but, you know, they work on everything, not just in ring, but their characters and their mic skills and everything. And to me, it just shows how great they do that, because usually, for me, typically, you know, Jose is kind of a character that I wouldn't necessarily gravitate towards, and then Austin Aries would be my guy, so to speak. And you know, it's crazy because, like you said, no matter who it is, they're getting huge pops. Same thing in the you know, the women's match, the second one that followed up. You know, we had Ember Moon versus Billie Kay. Both of these faces are super fresh. Unless you watch the indies and you dabble in that, then you know both of them. But if you don't know who these women are, but they still were able to generate a crowd reaction. And it was crazy. Like, we heard the Ember chant, we heard the Billie Kay chant, like you said, the No Way Jose chant, the Austin Aries chant. It was just, for every single match, had a part, like a split crowd, and I thought that was amazing.
That takes us into the Rude match, and you can't talk about that match without talking again about the entrance. You got to watch the video of his entrance and the music. Just the way the stage came, lowered, and the glorious, and it's one that words I can't make it sound 1% as good as what it really was.
Yeah, it's like one of those things where you like have to see it to understand, and because if you just hear us talking about it, like, we might be able to do it justice, but nah, you got to see that thing in its full glory. No pun intended. But it's funny because I remember watching a video recently, and they talked about how when they were creating Bobby Roode's new theme song, that they wanted arena rock, and that's the exact feel that I got. I was like, dude, am I like an old school, like, 80s metal hairband concert? Like, that's what it felt like, and it was awesome.
Well, Trevor messaged me when it happened and said it was just like a Queen song. And you could see
Freddie Mercury status.
Yeah, you could have seen Freddie Mercury entering the arena the way that Bobby Roode entered the arena.
It was awesome. That's actually one of the greatest comparisons I've ever heard, because that makes the most sense.
We saw a video, Triple H and the crew from Orange County Choppers. They unveiled the trophy for the Cruiserweight Classic. Then they went back to the arena, and you saw the Cruiserweight Championship competitors at ringside, along with the Orange County Chopper people. But think of how many people they showed at ringside tonight. You know, I mean, we saw Ric Flair, we saw Foley and his daughter, we saw main roster stars, we saw, we saw literally probably 24 people in the crowd that were recognizable. And you know, I got to believe that people like Flair wouldn't have to attend that. I think he was there to promote, but I think he was there because he wanted to see good wrestling.
Absolutely. I was going to say solely because he wanted to be. Because, I mean, even though these people know each other personally and they probably work with each other and you know, run into each other backstage and everything like that, you know, more often than not, 99.9%, I'll even go with 100% of everyone in the business is a wrestling fan. So every now and then, even though you're a part of the business, that fan still lives inside of you. You know what I mean? So it's like you said, you want to see good wrestling, and it's like, where can I go to watch good wrestling? Oh, I know, NXT. NXT will deliver, so let me go here.
And that filters down all the way from the pinnacle of success being the WWE main roster all the way down to local indies, because, you know, I'm a ring announcer for the local indie here, one of the two local indies here. And this past month, they do one show a month, they had a Japanese wrestler that came in for the first time, wrestled a guy who is an old, not old enough that his son also wrestles, but you know, he's one of the top name in the area, and he's normally a heel, and he was a heel in this match, and he had to break character after the match, grab the microphone and say, "Look, I know you boo me and all of this, but that was an outstanding match I just had with this." You know, he was being a fan, putting over the guy from Japan. And that's I think anybody that does anything in wrestling, whether it's do a podcast, involved in a show somehow, do it because they enjoy wrestling. I mean, think about it. I was thinking about this earlier tonight. We know it's scripted. Sometimes we know who's going to win ahead of time. We know all of this stuff, and we still love it.
Yep, we still love it. We still watch it because it's like, it's the emotion that goes into it. And, you know, a prime example of that is in the women's title match. You know, I knew in my gut Bayley wasn't going to win. I wanted her to because I thought it would have been great to see her, the very first two-time NXT Women's Champion. But I knew it was like, nah, man, the rest of the 4 women on the main roster, the brand split just happened. It's not going to happen. But even though I knew that, I was still, like, a little bit slowly disappointed, you know what I mean? And you saw it on the faces of, Sasha and Becky, too. Like, they looked sad and disappointed. And it was just like, well, that's not what we wanted type of thing. It's part of the emotion that goes into it because you get so invested into these people, into these characters, and you root for them, and you want them to win, and there's some that you want to lose, and then when they don't lose, you're like, oh, God, I hate you so much. It's fun. Being a wrestling fan is fun, and it has its rewards, and I think tonight was one of those moments where you're like I said, reminded me, this is why I don't walk away. This is why I still watch wrestling, and this is what I fell in love with when I was 4. You know what I mean?
Right, and you mentioned Becky and Sasha. I mean, Becky had her, forehead covered by her hands, and Sasha's head was buried. It's like They were both looked to be in despair that Bayley had lost the match. And it's just, that's why we do what we do. We don't get a penny off of any of these podcasts we do. We don't get royalties or anything. We don't sell T-shirts. We don't do nothing, but we do it because we love the sport of professional wrestling.
Absolutely. And it's so crazy because, because of that love, I've been able to meet you, not meet you personally, but I know you, and I know Trevor, and I know John, and it's cool because it's like something that's looked down upon sometimes, like if you say you like professional wrestling, they're like, oh, what a nerd, or oh, what a weirdo, but it's like something like professional wrestling has brought so many amazing people to my life, and it has allowed me to experience multiple things, and even, not even transitions into MMA. The whole reason why me and Shayna got close was because, she loves professional wrestling, and hey, so do I. And, that's what got me my first interview. So it's crazy that something that's looked so down upon and something that is predetermined and people like to use the F word that I hate so much, it's brought in so much joy to my life and the lives of millions, and I think that's great.
Well, think about how many young people are touched by Make-A-Wish and things like that.
Yep.
And you immediately think of Cena, but he's not the only one part of the Make-A-Wish program. And just literally dozens upon dozens, probably hundreds upon hundreds of young kids that many of them who go on and pass away as children are made happy by this F word sport. And if you don't know what we're talking about, you just have to think about it. It's not the F word.
It's not profanity, guys.
But this F word sport brings joy. I mean, think about the Warrior Award and the first recipient of that. And I mean, it's just nights like tonight make you realize why it is that you're a wrestling fan.
Absolutely. And it's so good, and like it kind of is almost like a vindication, because you're like, I don't care how many times I'll get made fun of, I'm still gonna watch professional wrestling because of nights like this.
The tag match for the championship, I mean, you called it the match of the night. It went back and forth. I love the Johnny Wrestling chants, because that's a play on Johnny Manziel, the football player. He was called Johnny Football.
Sounds awesome.
And hopefully that Johnny Wrestling makes better of himself than what Johnny Football has, because he makes headlines for all the wrong reasons, or at least he has in the last few years. But I love the chants. I love the fact that NXT fans seem to be smart wrestling fans. They understand that they're seeing a pay-per-view quality. And when I'm talking about pay-per-view, I'm talking about like old-time pay-per-view where you spent $40 to watch, where you expected every single match to be quality, or else you felt like you got you ripped off. And they understand that that's what they were seeing in that match. It was fantastic.
Absolutely. The whole entire time they were saying, this is awesome. And, what I loved is, even though the Revivals were the heel in this match, and even though, Ciampa and Gargano were the not main, but I guess you could say the crowd was mainly behind them. Even with that being said, the Revival got a lot of love too. And to me, like, it was awesome when they were doing like the back and forth hits, and it was like, boo, yay, boo. Yeah, I just love that. I love that how invested, people get into it. And like a couple of times during that match, when there was near fall after near fall after near fall, the camera would pan to the crowd, and people would have their head on their hands in like disbelief, and it was like, oh man, my heart just skipped a beat. I think even Corey Graves said that at one point, and that was me too. I was like, Jesus, match is so stressful. What's happening? It was awesome.
He said it in that very match. He was the heel announcer, and so he was for the Revival, the count was like 1, 2, and 7/8, 99 100s. I mean, it was almost 3.
It was like, yet so close, yet so far. It was awesome. I think part of the reason why it kind of went the way that it did is because both, Ciampa and Gargano were a part of the Cruiserweight Classic, and they say that Raw's supposed to have the Cruiserweight division, so I'm thinking maybe that's why it went the way that it did, but I don't know. Again, it just shows that NXT and WWE, it's looking good. I don't think we're going to be disappointed years to come. I think either way, we're going to be happy. And that match, to me, was the defining factor in that statement. Because the four of those guys, man, like, it could have literally went any way at any given moment, and I was just like, I don't even know what to believe. Like, I don't even know what they're going to do, because every single time I was like, 1, 2, maybe 3. Oh, no, not over yet. And like I said, to me, matches are nice by far.
You know, and that brings up a point. Referees have to work really hard in NXT matches because there are so many near falls. And
yeah, it's like, what if you mess up a slip one day, you know?
Well, actually, I think it was an intentional slip, but, I mean, he counted to 3 when the foot was on the rope. And
yeah, I think, that might have been intentional, but it might have not been. You never know.
Yeah,
Maybe they were just, like, improvising and, like, let's go with this now, because...
Yeah, I mean, it was believable either way, that he could have accidentally tapped the 3 and had to fix the problem, or they had it planned at the 3 and the foot was on the rope. Either way, it was believable, and it doesn't matter whether it was planned or not. It was such an important part of the match that they pulled off
it really
perfect.
Because, I mean, you heard the crowd. The crowd went freaking absolutely bananas when they hit the 3 count, because obviously the crowd was primarily rooting for, Ciampa and Gargano. And then when it happened, it was like, yes, even I was like, yes, new champions, yay! I was so happy, but then I was like, oh, wait a minute. And then, like, the crowd just, like, started booing. And what made it even crazier to me was, Ciampa and Gargano, they were celebrating, and, like, they were already crying, and they were hugging. It was like, no, wait a minute. Like, that wasn't a 3, and it was like, oh, shit. Like, it was that moment.
And you knew that the referee was going to have to reverse his decision, because you could plainly see that he was going to get his foot on the rope early in the count. It wasn't like it was out of nowhere. Early in the count, you knew he was going to get his foot on the rope. And
where his foot was positioned, he was, like, towards the bottom already, so you're like, oh, crap.
And they, on the pin, he had the inside leg instead of the outside leg. So, technical wise, had he used the outside leg to pull up instead of the inside leg, he would have got the win, because he couldn't have put that outside leg on the rope. But
exactly,
yeah, that didn't come up. You had to, like, be watching to make that understand.
Came out, I was just saying, it's wrestling mathematics, and it's like, if you pay attention to the small detail, you'll get what we mean. So it's cool. You're good.
The women's match. Let's the title match. Well,
yeah,
first
that was good.
Let me give us a quick shout out before I forget totally. John already has the results of NXT Takeover Brooklyn II up on Wrestling News Blog. So
that worked so hard, incredibly hard. It would, man. He's awesome. Thank you, John, for all your hard work. You do not go unnoticed, my friend, because I'm like, man, it's funny because they say Bailey is the heart and soul of NXT. I think John is the heart and soul of Wrestling News Blog, because he just posts so many things, and he's always on point, and I gotta love it.
I had to laugh. I retweeted your tweet about our show, and then John retweeted my retweet. So my notification said, John retweeted your retweet.
That's funny. It's like tongue twister.
Yeah, right. I'm surprised that came out as smoothly as it did over the air. Usually my tongue kind of ties up on those things.
That's funny.
Asuka came out with some swag.
Yes, she did. I was thinking the same thing. I was like, oh, hey. I was like, this is amazing. It's funny that you say that, because my best friend, he's a long-time wrestling fan, and he's a strong advocate for women's wrestling. But more often than not, he would get excited about entrances, because he's like, oh man, on pay-per-views, they step up their game, and they have new outfits, and all these things. And tonight, seeing Asuka make her entrance, I thought it was my best friend, because it was like, holy, he's not a wrestling fan per se anymore. He, like, dabbles in it a little bit, but thinking about him, I was like, man, like, my best friend would love this entrance because not only was her outfit on point, but, like, she did her little dance thing, and I was just like, dang, this is really freaking cool.
It was, you know, so if you count them up, we've talked about the entrances of three different people that were, you know, when you think of great entrances, you think of The Undertaker, and you think of Finn Balor and people like that, and there were three of them tonight that were, you know, if you were rating them on stars, they were all 5-star.
They were all 5 stars, and it's funny because for me, maybe it wasn't a big deal to some people, but even Baylor's entrance had a little flair to it because not only were the wacky wavable inflating tube men on the top of the entrance ramp like they usually always are, but they were in the ring too. I was like, holy shit, this is so cool. I was so happy. I geeked out, just like I did right now. That was, I mean, I was like, this is the coolest thing ever.
I thought about you when they were doing that. There was 4 of them on each side of the ramp, and then there was 4 of them behind her in the ring. And I thought,
was great.
Yeah, and she played up to it too. I mean, you know, she, her entrance wasn't like the grand entrance of them all, but it was a special entrance, especially considering what happened and what we believe is going on with her goodbye and all of that.
It was the right timing. It was perfect.
I tell you what, you can't go through this event without giving some kudos to Samoa Joe.
Oh, yeah.
He, you think about the matches he's had, multiple matches with Balor, you know, Nakamura here, and you know, you look at Joe, and he's not the Vince McMahon model of a professional wrestler. You know, he's not chiseled out, and he doesn't have a 6-pack, and you know. But I tell you what, I mean, he gave Nakamura an enziguri while he was sitting on the top rope.
Oh, that was great.
I mean, think about that. They say he weighs 282 pounds. And he got his foot, I don't know how high that would be, but that's several feet in the air. And
absolutely. He's definitely athletic, to say the very least.
And the match could have ended with either person winning and not being disappointed. I mean, Samoa Joe could have retained the title, and we'd still be saying what an awesome match that it was.
Yeah, I agree 100%, especially because the crowd was like, Nakamura, let's go Joe! Nakamura, let's go Joe! And
yep.
Then again, like I said, that's something special that NXT has that the main roster, quote, doesn't have, because it's like, no matter what you get, I think any of these matches tonight, whoever would have won, you're okay with it. As opposed to in the main roster, you're like, if your guy doesn't win or your girl doesn't win, you're like, oh man, like that was crap, and that just ruins. Like it ruins a great match on the main roster, which is really weird. Like it could still be a good match, but then you still walk away with a taste in your mouth that you don't want, you know. And NXT doesn't do that. You're okay either way.
Well, I tell you what, we're on a 45-minute time limit tonight. I had to get a different plan on Spreaker, and we've got Bobby Roode's entrance music, his theme, to finish the show out. So say goodnight, Vanessa.
Good night, you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Like I said, without you guys, we wouldn't be doing this. We do it because we love to do it. And we will catch you guys again Monday afternoon for our SummerSlam post show, so tune in there.
All right, folks, take it easy.